The Equality Act is the civil rights movement to add gay to definitions of equality in the Civil Rights Act. And it passed in Congress, but in the House of Representatives. But what was big news this week is it passed in Congress, in the House of Representatives. Overwhelmingly, 100% of the Democrats in the House of Representatives voted yes to expand gay protection in the Equality Act, and not a single Republican voted for it in the House of Representatives. Not one. And that got us talking last week. There was a little challenge at the table as they were talking about equality issues, and it was principally issued by Power. Let's go back to last Wednesday and see what the challenge actually was. Watch this.
I would like to say that, and I'm challenging, it's happening out, and I'm going to say this on the air. I would like us to come back. Isn't Joe supposed to be back next week?
Yes.
Okay. Next week, I would like us to come back to this topic, because I really don't think it does us too much good to talk about it. We all feel the same way. I want to hear what Joe has to say.
Yeah.
I want to hear what he has to say.
I agree.
Let's go there.
He's always talking about how pro-LGBT the Republican Party is, and how at the convention they were rah-rah and they were throwing a pride parade. Let's see the parade. Bring on the parade now. I want to see what Joe has to say. So next week, let's bring this back up. Jared Curry, run it back. And
okay, Jared, you heard that.
Power Infiniti for Governor of Florida. Fighting goes on.
Absolutely, Jared Curry, we've run it back.
And I said what I said.
All right.
So here we are.
Here we are. So
I guess it's up to me.
We have this slide here about the Equality Act passing in Congress and the House of Representatives. 100% of the Democrats vote yes. 0% of the Republicans vote yes. All voted no. And we have a slide here about what this epic conversation about do Republicans support the gay
We'll let the
agenda?
Republican at the table speak.
So,
we're all dying to hear it.
And I've been pushed multiple times, y'all. Let's stop doing that. So we begin the conversation, Joe, tell us about what you think.
So I'm going to start with hopefully a little example, and that is an analogy around colors. We have three primary colors, right? And then there's three secondary colors. And outside of that, everything is a variation on the theme, right? It's a combination of those colors. When you look at the 1964 Equality Act, it puts out the basic set of sex, race, religion, nationality, and disability, the five key things. Everything else outside of that is a variation, like a hue of blues, right? If you've got all LGBT colors.
I apologize, but because of time, I'm going to have to ask you to zero
Focus.
in on your point.
So the point is, all of the things that we want to accomplish, can be accomplished with the Equality Act the way it is. Everything that was put in the Equality Act is a variation on the theme.
In theory, that would be great, but the trans community, which is where I can speak from, has faced repeated resistance to our rights being covered under, for example, sex discrimination, and challenging whether or not we are covered under Title IX. So if the Equality Act, the way it exists, really does cover everyone, then why are we here in the first place? Why are we here needing to say, here, these people actually exist as human beings too, if it was already established?
One of the arguments that I've heard, and I am very pro-trans rights, is that gender and sexual identity are a lot more fluid, just by definition.
Right, but I'm talking, and Joe, I really am curious as to your response to that. Why is it then that the Equality Act, as it stands, has repeatedly not covered the trans community, as an example?
And not only the trans community, but the gay community.
Right, as an example.
And even broader, the gay community.
In looking at some of the statements and actually the layout of the Equality Act, you can look at some of the provisions where they made it actually fairly fluid in terms of the interpretation. So I don't know why we're not going down that path. Part of it is people are afraid to over-define things, but there's also a a fear of once you start down the hill of super definitions of every small thing, you get encompassed in litigation.
Okay,
As I
wait,
walk
wait,
through
wait,
the-
wait,
hold on,
as I
hold
walk
on
through
one
the-
second.
as
I
walk
want
through
to
the Equality
define
Act, the
clearly.
EEOC
I want to define clearly. Allow me, please,
Go
to
ahead.
ask two questions. If you were a congressman in that vote, would you have voted yes or no?
I would have voted no.
And because of the expansion of definition.
Because it's already covered
Okay.
by what is set up
And
in the
and what
Act.
you're saying is not a single Republican in the House of Representatives voted yes because of standards like that. It's unnecessary.
Well, I don't know all of the examples, but I do know of a few examples where a congressman that exists now, a Republican congressman from Colorado, prosecuted the first trans hate crime,
Wait,
specifically
yes,
around the
yes,
Equality
yes,
Act.
but that diverts my third question. How
Okay.
over the course,
Yes.
and Joe and I are going to talk about politics in a new segment that we're doing a lot over the next 18 months, leading up to the election on November 5th, 2020. How, with this vote being so stark, the definition is we've got protection already. We don't need to do more because the law already exists. How can the Republican Party reach out to the gay community and say, we've got your back because the laws already exist? How do they expect to get any support from the gay community when that's their definition?
And to go one step
Wait,
further.
please.
There has to be some level of outreach and some statements, but
But if 100% of the House of Representatives say no, and the major definition is because you've already got protection, and we're not going to vote to protect you in the Equality Act, and 100% of the Democrats do it, what does the Republican Party expect gay America to do on
Well-
November 5th but vote for Democrats?
oh, what do you think the reason was behind the Democrats putting forth a bill that had so much language in it that they knew the
It
Republicans
seems to
would not
me,
step up for
even
it?
if that's true, it seems
other
to
than
me that that
recruit
is
the entire
irrelevant.
LGBT
My
community.
question is the relevant question. How does the Republican Party expect any gay people to vote for Republicans if they don't support them? How?
So you are stating that anybody's vote for president is going to be solely based upon whether or not they voted for the Equality Act or not. It's not based upon whether your physical
if
responsibility.
Martin Luther
Okay,
King
I'm
is
gonna throw in my
here,
chip on this one.
I'm going to give some liberal. I'm going to allow for a moment. If this conversation was over Martin Luther King in 1964, the answer to that question would be yes. Dr. King would say it's all about the protection expansion of black civil rights. This definition says there is no need for expansion of gay civil rights. How can the Republicans expect a single vote for Donald Trump when his party does not believe in gay civil rights?
Wait a minute. Gay civil rights are different than your civil rights or my civil rights or any of the people that are walking
If
around
it
here?
has to do-
No, it's you are protected based upon sex. You're protected based upon religion. You're protected based upon your
But legal
your
precedent
race.
says we're not. We haven't been. Repeatedly, we haven't
the
been.
gay civil rights are different from his, them, we. Yes, it is. So to answer that question shortly, it is. It is different.
It's that the Equality Act is being taken to defend spiritual rights, or by spiritual I mean religious rights. It's that the cake that won't be sold issue. Okay, so you're trying to enact this. You want the Equality Act to be in place because then you can't be sold by the Christian church or you can't adopt from this other church. It goes back down to religion entirely. It has less to do with gay and all to do with religion.
Can Power finish what he was saying about?
Well, power ain't even started. I'm just letting everybody else get out the way because
Okay,
I'm
well,
going to
yeah,
speak. Oh, sure,
well,
I'm going to speak.
All right. Well, then you're going to have to speak now because we're going to.
No. You guys took up all this time. I'm going to speak now. And
That's what
first
I
of all,
just said.
as Napoleon just pointed out about about the religious thing, Tampa Pride put out something, and let me read it. Should sincerely held religious beliefs, exceptions, then be allowed for all of the civil rights acts? Race, creed, color, nationality, sex, housing, marital status? No, it's nothing more than a license to discriminate and a serious legal and a spiritual legal concept. And I totally agree with that. We have to understand that the reason Joe is saying that, and I'm hearing what Joe is saying, he's saying that, there is no need for this extra protection because the protection is already implemented in the law, but it's not. That's where we're wrong. A national standard for the LGBT non-discrimination is what is needed, because right now the way it is that 20 states have enacted a non-discrimination enactment to protect the LGBT community. However, those 20 states, the problem is that you can enjoy those protections in one state and then drive to another border and those protections are not met. We need a national standard that protects us all. There is no reason that any human being or any American should be at risk for being fired, evicted from their home, or denied services because of who they are or who they love. And right now, we have that danger. And right now, the Democrats are the only ones that seem to get that, and the Republicans don't. And I really have to ask you, Joe, do you actually believe what you're saying, or are you really just saying it to toe the party line?
No.
Because I really can't even believe that you actually in your heart believe that.
I absolutely believe it. Has it been implemented everywhere at a reasonable way? No. But I also believe in local rule. So as states adapt, as communities come together, and people become to realize what gay life is or couples are, some of that will change. But
so in the same vein, so if you believe in local rule, so do you believe it's okay for one state to discriminate against blacks and another state not to?
That's what he's saying.
No, that is not the case.
That's exactly what you're saying.
It was at one time.
It's the same thing.
Because the statements are there around sex. You're saying that in some locations people are abusing that and they need to be taken to court in order to remedy that. And the 1964 Act has provisions in order to go to court to remedy those situations.
So
for certain groups, not for us.
Yes.
It does not remedy it for us. It does not it does not. And you want to know the other element I'm going to bring into this is that actually Donald Trump flip-flopped on this, because in 2000 he conducted an interview. He was interviewed by the Advocate magazine, and he was all for the Equality Act. He has now flip-flopped, and the truth of the matter is that most Republicans actually don't have a problem with non-discrimination for gays. What has now changed and what has fueled the Republican Party is him. Because now, because of gender identity, it's become more of an issue with them. Yeah. They don't really, it's not so much that they have a problem with gay discrimination.
They just can't stand the idea of me having to take a piss.
That's right, it's gender identity.
Did you read the Equality Act?
Yes, I did.
There is a way. It doesn't matter who you are. You can go into any public, any private school, whatever, and you can claim something, whether or not it exists or not. That law was so far-reaching, you could. It doesn't matter. You would have so many frickin' lawsuits that nobody would be able to do anything. People would be scared to piss in their own bath.
It wasn't far-reaching enough.
All right.
Oh my God.
It's not
this is
far-reaching
what
enough.
it just comes
Absolutely
down to.
ridiculous.
Stop settling for the vagueness.
Yes.
And don't be afraid of clarity. And in our legislation, let's get clear. If you sit in town halls, you can't even under the regular man and woman, the regular gay, straight, I don't even care what color you are. You sit in a town hall meeting and you may or may not understand what exactly is going on because everyone is reciting statutes, all right? We need to start creating legislation that is for everyone to understand. And if we have to get very clear about what it is and create the distinction, that's what elevates us. Mm-hmm. And that's what I have to add.
Okay. All right. So, I'm going to bring the conversation of the Equality Act.
No, you're not, because
Good job,
I got
Josie.
one more motherfucking thing to say. I got one more thing to say.
All right.
And I'll say this. If the Equality Act, and the argument on the Republican side is that the Equality Act already encompasses everything that we need, and there is no more need. If there's no more need, then there should be no problem in clarifying what it encompasses, because according to you guys, it already encompasses those things. So if it already encompasses those things, then there should be no problem just clarifying. Okay, well, if it encompasses those things, then you guys should have no issue saying, okay, yes, there should be a national standard for LGBT protection because it already encompasses those things, right? So what's the problem? Everybody should have voted, right?
Almost every state or national statute has a clause that literally is called definitions, and it does exactly that. It clarifies everything. So what's the problem then?
Are you finished?
I am finished.
Okay. Well, now we're closing the conversation on the Equality Act, but an observation to close, because this is going to go on for months and months and months.
Yes.
Certainly for the next year and a half. We got it, Chris. To November 5th, 2020. I am reminded in this conversation, and I will just say it out loud again, and Joe, we appreciate your participation and your explanation. What is so stark about the Equality Act is the absolutes that took place. 100% of the Democrats, 0% of the Republicans. I am reminded, as a student of history, there was a Tea Party in Boston. And a group of people at a Tea Party in Boston said, "This is it no more." And a king across the sea shuddered and ultimately lost America for his decision on taxation. And this vote reminds me very much of the same thing, of what's going to happen. Come back in.
You cannot equate taxation with LGBTQ equality rights.
Absolutely, I agree.
No,
It's his chip.
They are on totally different levels of magnitude. One was the independence of a nation. The other is a social equality
People's lives.
standard. Okay, they're two very different things. People do not vote based upon whether you voted for the Equality Act. They're not going to vote for president for that.
We'll see.
Although I think the Democrats
I hope they do.
are basing that vote to try and get all of the gay population to vote for Democrats. That's fine. Go for it, because most of the Republicans that I know that are gay, they have far more principles to vote for that matter to the success, the longevity, the security, the fiscal responsibility of this country than just that.
Okay. All right. Well, as I said, this is going to be a key issue for the next 18 months. November 5th, 2020 is ahead. And gay America is going to make a decision, and then the rest of America is going to make a decision, and we're going to see what happens, and there's going to be lots of discussions in many different ways. Quite a good conversation here, and I'm going to move on.
Thanks so much for watching us. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook.